This is Valley News Live at 5.
Welcome to Valley News Live at 5. I'm Justin Betty. Tonight, a Jamestown man is in custody after what authorities say was a series of burglaries. Police say the same place was hit a few different times between July 10th and today. This morning, police served a search warrant and say 31-year-old Stanford Williams was arrested without incident and charged with 4 counts of felony burglary. He was transported to Stutsman County Corrections. That incident remains under investigation. A 16-year-old is in custody and a 28-year-old dead after an early morning shooting at a hotel in North Bismarck. Bismarck police say witnesses and other evidence led them to believe the juvenile shot 28-year-old Maurice Thundershield in the chest and then fled the scene. Law enforcement says their investigation led them to Warren, Minnesota, where they took the 16-year-old into custody. He is now in the juvenile detention facility in Minnesota, waiting on the extradition process to Burleigh County, where he will face murder charges. Name not released because they are underage. Outside, a bit of a gloomy, maybe chilly day outside. As for what the weekend has in store, here's First Alert Storm Team meteorologist Jim Gash with the latest. Jim.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, right now we're looking here in Fargo at our Luther Family Ford Skycam, and conditions have improved just a little bit in the last half an hour or so, but those roads are looking pretty slick for your commute home. Temperatures across the valley are in the 50s in the east and 60s in the west, where there was a break in the clouds just for a little bit in the Devil's Lake Basin, but that break quickly filled in, and in its place we had some rain. That's going to keep moving to the east over the next few hours, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more development across the valley. Here we are again, a little zoomed out now, and as you can see, we have rain for most places south of Fargo, and to the east, much of Minnesota is pretty wet right now. I'm tracking this little cell right here as it moves into Fargo, and that made conditions pretty nasty quite a few minutes ago, where visibility was near zero. But we will see this rain continue into the overnight hours, but I will let you know when that rain is expected to end coming up.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jim. Tonight, authorities are still trying to figure out what caused a train to hit and kill a man in downtown Fargo overnight. Police were called shortly after midnight to the 400 block of North Broadway. They say a possible witness called in the crash, and officers discovered the victim's body. Right now, no other information is being released. A Moorhead dad is sending out a warning tonight after his daughter was hit by a car while walking home from school last week, caught here on doorbell camera. Valley News Team's Courtney Lockey spoke with that dad today, and tonight on Valley News Live at 9 and 10, he shares the video and his story, reminding drivers to slow down. The sergeant assigned to supervise convicted murderer Chad Isaac the day he died behind bars has now been fired. DeAndre Adams was fired after an internal investigation showed he did not perform proper checks on inmates on Sunday, July 31st. Officials say Isaac's cellmate left the cell for about an hour, during which time a piece of cardboard was placed in the window to obstruct the view. Adams walked past the cell during that time, they say, but did not follow procedure and remove the cardboard to check on Isaac. The cellmate later returned to find Isaac had hanged himself. Adams had 2 previous disciplinary actions in his personnel file. He has the option to appeal his firing within 15 working days. Continuing coverage of a deadly hit and run in Foster County. The North Dakota Attorney General expressing his concerns about political violence. 18-year-old Kayler Ellington was hit and killed following a street dance in McHenry, North Dakota last weekend. Police say the driver admitted to hitting Ellington on purpose, saying he was in fear himself. Attorney General Drew Wrigley says, quote, "The loss of a young life is always a tragedy. Outrageously, in this case, it is alleged the suspect admitted that his actions were motivated by a dispute over political beliefs. There is no place in civil society for this hateful violence," end quote. Wrigley added, political violence has become too common and must come to an end. Wrigley says the Bureau of Criminal Investigation is now working on this investigation along with Foster County and the AG's office. Election Day is now a little less than 2 months away, but early voting begins today in Minnesota. Minnesota state officials are reminding everyone Check your registration, update it if needed. Starting now, voters can either request an absentee ballot and vote from home, or you can vote early in person at your local election office in Minnesota. And remember, some towns in the state only vote by mail this year. Those ballots will be sent out today. North Dakota begins early voting late next week. Meanwhile, dueling speeches today between President Joe Biden and House Republicans, highlighting their stark differences between the two parties heading into the big midterm elections. Meanwhile, former President Trump is making a big financial push to try to get his candidates over the finish line in November. Deborah Alfarone has more from Washington.
At a political rally in Washington, President Biden laid out what he believes is a stark choice less than 50 days before the midterm elections.
This November, you have to choose to be a nation of hope, unity, and optimism, or a nation of fear, division, and darkness.
Ahead of the president's speech, House Republicans, led by Kevin McCarthy, were in the battleground state of Pennsylvania to unveil their commitment to America. It's a roadmap for GOP legislative priorities with 4 pillars: a strong economy, public safety, individual freedom, and government accountability.
On our very first bill, we're going to repeal 87,000 IRS agents.
In his speech, President Biden slammed the House GOP plan, which he said was, quote, thin with little or no details.
We didn't hear him mention the right to choose. We didn't hear him mention Medicare. We didn't hear him mention Social Security.
McCarthy could be poised to take the Speaker's gavel if Republicans can flip just a few House seats.
I challenge the president to join with us. Let's go across the country and let's debate what his policies has done to America and our plan for a new direction.
Former President Trump has also been pushing for big GOP gains this November and continues to stump for his picks across the country. CBS News has confirmed the former president is also launching a new political action committee, or PAC, to give Trump-endorsed candidates a multi-million-dollar boost heading into the final campaign stretch. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
And tonight, former President Trump will headline a political rally for candidates he's endorsed in North Carolina. About that same time, President Biden will host a concert with Sir Elton John at the White House. The concert, called The Night When Hope and History Rhyme, is expected to be televised at some later date. $14 million will be handed out in an educational partnership between the North Dakota Tribal College System and 3 businesses for apprenticeship programs. Hess Corporation donated $12 million to the fund, while Neighbors Inc. and Halliburton each donated $1 million. The money will help fund internships and apprenticeships to help students get ready for employment.
Often these internships and apprenticeships are the ticket to get people moving towards that lifetime of learning.
Unemployment remains very low in North Dakota. There are 13,000 more people working in the state now than there were in August of 2021. Promising progress for a Minnesota football player who suffered a serious head injury during a high school football game in Moorhead earlier this month. Connor Erickson, a senior captain on the Brainerd football team, has now been taken off a ventilator. His family says he was also moved out of the pediatric ICU. He's receiving care in a standard pediatric room. They say there is still a long road to recovery ahead, but this was a big step in the right direction. The Red River Valley Fair Association is throwing their 2nd annual Lost in the Valley event. The event includes a corn maze, a big one where you can get lost, and a pumpkin patch, along with other activities for all ages, especially kids. The corn maze opens today. The pumpkin patch opens October 1st.
It's just a fun event for all ages. We have our Days in the Maze events for 21 and older. We have some kids activities like our strawberry maze, pallet maze. We have a little stone maze, so tons of fun for everyone.
For tickets and more information, you can visit the Red River Valley Fair's website. Inflation is hitting more than just the cost of gas. Still ahead, we'll explain how tailgating costs are going up too.
Check out this time lapse of that little system moving through Fargo. There is a bit of a break here as we take a look at Grand Forks for a little bit, but as this more heavy rain moves through the area, we will continue to see this rain throughout the evening, but we do have some dry conditions returning to the valley tomorrow. I'll let you know when.